On April 26, 1986, the Chernobyl nuclear reactor in northern Ukraine, then part of the Soviet Union, exploded, sending a massive plume of radiation into the sky. Nearly 4 decades later, the Chernobyl power plant and many parts of the surrounding area remain uninhabited by humans, at least. Animals of all kinds have thrived in humanity's absence. So yeah, that I'm sure they've taken over, living among radiation-resistant fauna and thousands of feral dogs, many of whom are descendants of pets left behind in the speedy evacuation of the area so many years ago. As the world's greatest nuclear disaster approaches its 40th anniversary, so I'm the same age as Chernobyl, biologists are now taking a closer look at the animals located inside the Chernobyl exclusion zone, or the CEZ, which is about the size of Yosemite National Park, and investigating how decades of radiation exposure may have altered animals' genomes and even possibly sped up evolution. So you can only imagine how stoked scientists are to be like, whoa, we found something wild. We're going to experiment on these dogs. If I was a mad scientist, I would be using CRISPR technology to take these gray wolves from the irradiated landscape and matching them up with the DNA of a dire wolf.
Every time you say CRISPR technology, I just think of that drawer in the fridge that I don't use. And that's why every time you say it, I laugh. And it's not like I think the idea of it is funny, but just for some reason, I picture the drawer in the fridge, the CRISPR drawer.
Yeah, right.
And I'm just like, they're going to put wolves in the fridge?
I think that's on purpose because it doesn't sound as nefarious.
No.
When you say CRISPR technology.
It doesn't.
It's mad scientist laboratory technology where they take the DNA of mutant wolves and dire wolves and create these crazy things, like that guy we talked about last week who was mutating giant rams for hunting. I'll continue. Scientists from the University of South Carolina and the National Human Genome Research Institute have begun examining the DNA of 302 feral dogs found in or around the CEZ to better understand how radiation may have altered their genomes. The results were published in the Journal of the Scientific Science Advances in 2023. So they've been working on this thing for a while. Like the dogs being mutating to some degree has been in the news for years. And it's like I said, it's been evolving. The story has been evolving because first of all, not allowed to go there. Second of all, you weren't allowed to get these dogs. You couldn't adopt a radiated dog. But now people are adopting them left and right, going to lovely homes. And they're probably going to study those homes too now to see what happens there. Do they have, the article goes on, do they have mutations that they've acquired that allow them to live and breed successfully in this region? Co-author Elaine Ostrander, is that her name? Ostrander, a dog genomics, am I saying that right? Genomics expert at the National Human Genome Research Institute told the New York Times, what challenges do they face and how have they coped genetically?
I mean, I could think of a pretty big challenge. Our entire environment is covered in radiation.
Yep. Everything has been destroyed. I mean, I can't imagine. And the other thing that people forget is just how it just slowly started to coat Europe. Yeah. I think that's how they even found out about it because they were keeping it hush hush. And like, wait, what is coming our way right now? This can't be good. But yeah, let's switch to the wolves because this is the one from earlier. I think maybe towards the end of last year that really caught my attention because I'm like, this is an issue.
Yeah.
Imagine these things.
I mean, just don't try to give them cancer. I
feel like them becoming cancer resistant is just going to make them stronger in other ways.
I mean,
and more dangerous.
I'm not going to lie. I thought about this, and the first kind of characterization that came to my mind was Crypto, Superman's dog, crossed with Doomsday.
Yes. Yes.
And it's just this undefeatable radioactive dog.
Yes.
And
Putin's out there just like, this is perfect.
Oh, yeah.
I need these. He's probably got some. He's probably adopted
I wouldn't be surprised, yeah.
That's why they couldn't adopt him in the first place. He's like, I want them all.
Glowing green eyes. They're just sitting in front of him like his lap dogs like Mr. Burns.
The Simpsons predicts everything.
Yeah, absolutely.
So back in the CEZ, it has quickly become a 1,000 square mile science experiment as experts use the highly irradiated, I can't say that word tonight, irradiated zone as a chance to understand animal biology placed under those extreme conditions. Biologists from Princeton University studied wolves in the CEZ for a decade and found that they are thriving compared to neighboring wolf packs, likely due to reduced human contact and genetic mutations that protect against cancer. I guess they're missing a few letters.
I mean, again, how many of these? I now want to know how many of these things are dying annually from cancer.
Right. And probably dying from cancer from other things we've done. Like, I wonder if cancer is something that happens to wolves organically.
Like,
right?
where is the fall off here that they discovered, oh man, cancer is reduced dramatically in all of these feral dogs that
Right.
like, are they studying every single one of them? Like,
They might be, honestly. Knowing what the Soviets were doing, I mean, if you want to get a little graphic real quick and go to YouTube, and we'll just warn the squeamish.
Oh, I always want to get graphic. What do we got?
Look up, I'm just thinking of dogs and then what the Soviets were doing. Look up reanimated dog head, Soviet Union.
Oh man.
And
I've heard about this.
People might say this is fake. I don't know. It looks pretty wild to me. But I was thinking of that when thinking of the science. Like, this has become just like a giant petri dish for not just the Russians or Ukrainians. We got Princeton there. We got South Carolina there. People are going there because they're going to try to learn how they can turn this into something to help cure cancer for humans. Obviously, that's the goal. That's the race. I know Joe Biden said he was going to cure cancer at the beginning of his campaign. That didn't happen. Quite the opposite, actually, unfortunately for him. But they're looking at mutant wolves so they can fix us. And I think all these things are happening. All these diseases are byproducts of all the things we've done to the land and things we'll get into, such as nuclear fallout, which is not just contained to Chernobyl, obviously. So let's see. What is this? Russian scientists successfully reanimate dead dog's head.
So, viewer beware.
Yes.
If you hated the first John Wick movie because of the puppy scene, you're
Yes.
probably not gonna like this.
Yes.
But we're gonna do this. This is gonna kind of depict how their idea worked in a sense, and then obviously they're gonna show it in action. So, brace yourselves.
We are seeing a scientist in a lab coat in his laboratory
Doing lab things.
doing lab things, pumping something into, I don't know, it looked like lungs.
Yeah, so this basically looks like a diagram for how they're going to pull this off.
A reservoir for arterial blood.
Yep.
And the arterial pump, which is hooked up, this is an illustration of a severed dog's head to the arterial pump, which is now in motion.
Which appears to be nothing more than 2 giant marshmallows.
Yeah. That's the Soviets for you. Ingenuity. Blood is now pumping into the illustration's head. It does get, I believe this is the one that has the actual dog head.
Yeah.
Allegedly.
It does.
But they're just warming you up. They want you to be like, this is how we thought this through.
Yeah, we're gonna skip to the meat and potatoes here.
So this is in 1940, supposedly. And we are now looking for those listening at the reanimated dog head. That doesn't look real.
No, it's definitely not.
That doesn't look real. No, I don't believe this at all. This is just their propaganda. This is like yesterday thinking about the Pentagon putting out fake UFO stories. This is the Soviets putting out fake reanimated dog head stories. We need a better angle, for me to believe this. The supposed dead dog's head is squinting in a light. Now they're banging a hammer to see if it reacts, which it does. But if we don't get an overhead shot of this severed dog head, I'm not going to believe this.
Yeah, I don't know about that one.
From the revival of separate organs to the revival of a whole organism. Let's just skip through and see what else. It's just more illustrations. I will say, I don't know how I feel about this. I don't think I've seen this one. But I also wouldn't put it past them. For those who were listening last week, at some point I brought up Unit 731 in Japan. that when they were experimenting on Chinese prisoners of war, and like they were doing horrific things to people. Vivisections were reported, and that's when they. This is graphic, just fair warning. The vivisection is when you cut someone up fully while they're alive and remove their organs. You know, they were doing it was an abomination. So if this video is not real, I think it's also possible that these people were doing stuff like this. And this might just be propaganda, or it's just part of a film that none of us know about. Any other dog heads with a better angle? They're gonna sell this
see,
to us
that's the
more?
thing is like, they show all these diagrams.
Yeah.
And they're animated, and you're like, okay, cool, I get that that's how that's working. But like when we actually get to it,
Are there any videos of the mutant wolves?
like they were claiming that this dog was dead when it was on the table, but
Yeah.
I saw its chest moving, so it was like it was breathing.
Yeah, I think they're trying to convince us that this is like, is this a reconnected head?
No, this was supposed to be a full reanimation. So this was, according to them, this was a dog that was already deceased, that they managed to get up and walking around and returning to living function after a few days. Now, you can't really see it because of the shadow, but there is a dog there, apparently happy and glad to be brought back.
And another thing to add is that I'm not buying this video.
No, I'm calling BS on this one.
But head transplant experimentation has been a thing for a long time. Like they have been trying to take heads off things and put them on other things.
Wasn't somebody actually successful with that a couple of years ago? Was that a real thing?
I don't think it went well. That was someone.
I can't
think it was
imagine
actually in Russia.
What could go wrong?
I think it was in Russia. At least it was talked about. I don't know if that guy actually went through with it. But there was a viral video last year, actually, where it was a company talking about their plan of doing head removals and head transplants. And it was like people, I think, really believed it. It looked good, like it was a AI, video. But their plan, it seemed real. I don't think it was a real company, honestly. I think it was like another hoax. But that said, again, just like that video we just watched, you can go look up. There's a whole history of head transplants. They want to do it, and it's part of a lot of what we were talking about last week in particular, the transhumanist stuff of trying to live forever, trying to find ways to upload your consciousness into a computer or give you a new body, maybe become a robot, who knows what. But the wolves, they're going to use them to cure cancer.